And I think for me, I was kind of struggling with a lot of direction. I wasn't really sure where I wanted to be. I landed in a large brokerage that was really big on training. So
Mhm.
for me, I was like, I just got to train. And like I was in the classroom for 6 months because I was too afraid.
Yeah.
Like if I set an appointment, I don't know what to do with them. What if they ask me a question and I don't know how to answer it? And so competence, was a big factor for me. I didn't feel confident unless I had that competency behind
Mm.
it. And so that's why I ended up kind of exploring joining a team because you can do a lot more, a lot faster with a lot less overhead and have the kind of experience that your colleagues have that depending on the team that you join as your safety net. So that's kind of what started me down that journey,
Mhm.
which I'm still on a team now and haven't looked back.
Hey, welcome, listeners. Today, I have the distinct honor and privilege of inviting Mary Soroka on the show today, a top producing realtor out of the Richmond, Virginia area for Mission Realty. Her numbers are awesome. She was a top producer last year, closed 41 sales for over 16 million. She's a trainer of new agents and just a wonderful person. Married, no children, but four cats. So she's a cat person. Welcome to
That's
the
all you
show,
need to
Mary.
know about me is I have 4 cats. No.
And you live in a log cabin, right?
I do. As you can see behind me, it's lovely. It's a little dark, sorry.
Do you have electricity and running water and that
We
sort of thing?
do. Yes, yes. We do have a nice wood stove though that keeps us toasty in the winter time because it can be drafty.
Oh, wow. I guess. Well, welcome to the show. So,
Thank you.
I want to learn about, you're doing super well in the business. Tell us first of all, how'd you get in the business? You've been around the business for about 10 years. So, what was that story? Most people don't go to school and say, I want to be a real
Yeah.
estate agent.
Right, right. And it actually wasn't on my radar at all because I graduated college in 2008. So not a lot of people were getting into the business
Mm,
then. Went to
no.
school for interior design. So honestly, I was working retail for several years and I actually helped a agent come who was coming in to shop for Halsley, which is a very high-end neighborhood in our area. He was helping a builder shop for furniture. So it was him and another agent, and they were I just sold them the furniture and we just kind of hit it off and started chatting. And he's like, have you ever thought about real estate? And I was like, not even on my radar at all. I didn't even know like how realtors got paid. I didn't understand the structure. I didn't know how to buy a house. I was still renting. And so he was like, I think you'd be really good at it. And so I started kind of doing research and I was like, you know what? I went to school for interior design. I really don't want to sell. I'm tired of selling furniture, but I can sell. I've got the personality for it. I'm not afraid of people. And so I don't know. I looked into it. I took a week off of work actually and did the week long like crazy, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, just like the crash course.
Right.
And then I took the test the next week and I was licensed in a week and a half and I passed and I was like, okay, well now what,
Right.
So then I had to kind of figure out, okay, well, when am I going to quit my job
Mhm.
and how much money should I have saved up? And, very naively was like, oh, well, when I get 6 grand in the bank, that should be enough to carry me until my first commission, right? And that was not the case. So
In
I had a
2008.
little bit of yeah. Well, it was well, it was 2008 when I graduated.
Okay.
Luckily, I didn't get into the business until 2013, I think,
Okay, right.
when
You
all
said
of
10
that
years.
transpired. And so it wasn't on my radar at all, though. I was like, I couldn't even get an interior design job. Nobody was hiring when I
No.
graduated, right? So I was stuck in retail. So yeah, it was interesting, but I went into it very like green and
Mhm.
excited and just like I'm gonna be an entrepreneur, and the reality quickly sunk in that I had a lot of fear of talking to people and even though
Mhm.
I could talk to you face to face, like the cold calling and all of
Yeah.
that was very new to me. And I was like, I don't know if this is, did I make a mistake? It took me probably 6 months before I had my first deal.
Mhm.
And I'm just kind of mentioning that because I feel like a lot of people go into this business and think that it's going to be, all roses and dated and easy, right? An easy money grab. And it's a lot of hard work, but it's also like, okay, if it takes a little time to get started, it doesn't mean that's where you're going to end up. It just means, everybody's kind of journey is different. So
But the point is you have to you have to make a decision to start. Then you have to realize there's going to be a period of time before you're going to see success. You got to kind of grind it out, right? But eventually, if you
you
stick
gotta
with it,
grind. Yeah.
mhm,
Yeah. And I think for me, I was kind of struggling with a lot of direction. I wasn't really sure where I wanted to be. I landed at a large brokerage that was really big on training. So
mhm.
for me, I was like, I just gotta train. And like I was in the classroom for 6 months because I was too afraid,
Yeah.
like what to if I set an appointment, I don't know what to do with them. What if they ask me a question and I don't know how to answer it? And so competence, was a big factor for me. I didn't feel confident unless I had that competency behind
Mhm,
it.
mhm.
And so that's why I ended up kind of exploring joining a team
Okay.
because you can do a lot more a lot faster with a lot less overhead and have the kind of experience that your colleagues have that depending on the team that you join, as your safety net. So that's kind of what started me down that journey,
Mhm.
which I'm still on a team now and haven't looked back. So
But you like that, so you're getting the team camaraderie, the mentorship, the leadership, and
right.
specific direction from the team. Is that really what you're taking away?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think it's kind of a rising tide raises all ships kind of
Mhm.
mentality. And so at least with our team and our kind of development, and the development over the years, because it started out as like Clayton Getz was our team lead. It was the Getz group and it was like his name on everything and he was in production and all the things. And it's evolved into this really beautiful kind of partnership of all of these agents. We've got over 30 plus agents now, and so there's opportunity there to like be developed into leadership on the team, which is where I'm at now. So I'm a new agent mentor. And
Mhm.
so that's kind of what's really cool about real estate is it's ever evolving. And
Mhm.
so for me, you get kind of tired of selling houses. So like, like at first it's like it's about money, right? It's like I got to survive, right?
Yeah.
And then you kind of start developing into this feeling of getting real satisfaction from really truly helping people and the connections and the relationships that you're
Mm.
making and all of that. And then you kind of you get to a certain, I think, level in your career where it's like I now have a passion for developing new agents so that they can also kind of experience what I've experienced but in a quicker period of time. How do we
Mhm.
get them up and running faster so that they can really improve their lives and really impact their life positively as well as my clients. And so it kind of is this ever evolving. For me, it's like I got to be passionate about, there's a deeper meaning than just like making the money.
Mhm.
It's like I gotta get some sort of like self fulfillment from filling up other agents with knowledge or training or helping my clients get them from to their home ownership realization. Like all of that kind of is what fills my cup and kind of
Mhm.
keeps me working as hard as I do. So
Yeah, so your passion drives you, and it's obvious, it's evident here, and I imagine that's one of the reasons why you're so successful, right? People feel that energy, and that you're
I
not
hope so.
people
I like to
people can
think so.
sense if you're just out for a commission, right? I mean, they kind of
Right.
get that.
Yeah, that commission breath is strong and it's just not, it's all about coming from contribution. It's not, the person that you want to be. It's not the vibe that you want to give off. It's,
Mhm.
because it really is about helping people and it's about relationships and that's, at least that's the way that I look at it.
No, that's a great way to look at it. So, yeah, if you help enough other people succeed and be happy and healthy and wealthy, then it all comes back to you, right?
Right, exactly. Help enough of people get what they want and you'll get what you want. So,
That's Zig Ziglar's famous line from many
mhm.
years ago, right? He used to say that. Well, so you're obviously mentoring and helping the new agents. You're a great team member, it sounds like, and you're mentoring or helping homeowners to buy and navigate this process, which is can be, fraught with lots of challenges along the way, right? Minds along the way, a lot of stress and so forth. Um, what give us some examples, or tell me maybe a situation you were in where you were able to help either an agent or a new buyer, let's say, navigate around some issues that they had no idea that they were that were in front of them in this process.
Hmm. Um, well, most recently, this was a new experience for me. I had a seller, um, a good friend of mine, sold them the house years later. They've, bought another house with me
Mm,
and are selling this one. We're under contract. And this actually happened like 2 months ago. And I get that phone call from a concerned neighbor who was walking down the street who saw flames coming out of the attic of the house.
uh-oh.
And I was like, no, not this property, 123 Main Street. Not that house, but I was like,
Yeah.
wait, are you sure about this property? Because I did not want to make that phone call and be wrong. She's
Right.
like, yeah, no, I've already called the fire department. There's like 4 fire trucks here, yada yada yada. So luckily it was a very small fire, but with fire comes damage,
Mm,
comes water damage, right?
yes.
Because they're pouring water into the attic, which then
Hmm.
trickles down to everything else.
Yes, it
And
does.
I've never experienced that one. I was like, what do we do? I don't, we get the insurance company involved.
Yeah,
So I was able to really act quickly and with my vendor list, get a mitigation person out there
right.
who actually met with the insurance adjuster at the same time that the homeowner did, which really helped kind of set expectations. Like
Yeah,
doesn't look like there's a lot of damage, but we've got to dry out all this plaster and we've got to,
right.
pull out all of the attic insulation and we've got to do this and that and whatever. And so getting them kind of hooked up with the right people and getting that piece squared away so that we could get to closing. Thank goodness we were able to do it in a quick enough manner. I would still delay closing a little bit, but quick enough that the buyer was willing to hang out with us. So, and all
Oh,
was
wow.
well. Everything worked out, and but I was like making that phone call, like, so the house caught on fire that your client just bought. It's like, but
Wow.
luckily nobody was hurt. No one was,
Yeah.
they weren't living there. They have a little baby. The new
Oh,
buyer
good.
wasn't, hadn't closed. It didn't happen right after she closed, which was good. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of happened in the right time, but
Yeah.
whew,
Yeah.
that was a new one.
Well, yeah. So was it like a system failure, like maybe like a furnace
It
or
was an
something?
attic fan
Yeah.
that had been up
Yeah.
there probably 30 years and just shorted out or something. We have no idea, but they think it was a gable fan that
Yeah.
was, they had just kind of stuck in the gable to
Uh,
blow air through.
right. Right.
So just an old system. Yeah.
Well, yeah. So you have to be nimble on your feet and be quick with solutions, right? To be effective in this
Quick,
business.
yeah, that's the big thing. I kind of look at myself as a big problem solver. It's like, okay, if
Mm,
I don't know the answer, who do I know that knows the answer, and who do
right.
I know that can get it done?
Right.
So I think
Right.
that's really a big piece of this business is being the source of the source of information, like being
Mhm.
kind of the matchmaker of either vendors and clients and houses. That's just kind of what we do.
Well, yeah, because I mean, there's a lot going on, and if I'm buying a house or selling a house, I've got other things in my life going on, right? And that's like one of the most stressful experiences in my life, outside of getting married and having a baby, and there's
Right.
it's up there, right? Um,
Yeah, yeah, for sure. It's all the choices, it's all the things can go wrong. It's a lot of money.
right,
So
yeah. So you mentor new agents. So what's 2 or 3 pieces of advice that you give a new agent coming on board your team to help them be successful? I mean, what are some of the key things that you would tell
I
them?
think the key thing, especially for a new agent, is developing a schedule. That's the biggest piece that we miss when we go from a traditional
Mm,
job to being a self-employed person,
yeah.
is that, we're used to having somebody tell us what to do all day. Yes, okay, got it, and then you go to task, right? If it's left up to your own devices,
Yeah.
this is why coaches exist, right? We need that external accountability as just human beings. Because even the most disciplined person is just, they're going to cut themselves some slack. So you got to find that person that's going to kind of push you along, tell you what you need to do, and then also hold you accountable and make sure that you're doing it.
Mhm.
Are you doing what you said you were going to do? And so that's, I think, the biggest piece of advice. You can kind of, when you first start out in the business, feel like a lone ship and just like, you don't really know which direction is up and you're trying to learn everything and whatever. And there's plenty of systems that you have to learn outside of just like how to handle an actual transaction, right?
Mm.
So that's the biggest piece of advice is accountability, which is again why the team structure, that's what I was craving, why the team structure works so well for me. But as a brand new agent, even on your own, just develop your ideal weekly schedule in your lead generation time, you know, talk to a minimum of 25 people a week, new people about real estate a week. And don't let anything get in the way of that lead gen time. 2 hours a day, even just 4 days a week, and you'll crush it, you know, whether or
Huh.
not that's SOI, that's people that you're working with, or that you know, and letting them know that you're in real estate, or it's, you know, cold calling through a database, you know, because you just joined this team. There's gold in those databases. You know, that could be a 5-year-old lead, and 5 years ago they were not looking to buy a
Yeah.
house, and you call them at the right time on the right day, and they answer the phone, and then, you know, you could have a contract. So
Yeah, no, that is gold. It's putting the number one thing. I mean, at the end of the day, that's the real work in the business, right? I mean,
yeah.
reaching out, making those connections, you know, that's where you're putting your do you have people that feel like they're putting their ego on the line when they make those phone calls, and you call reluctance
For
and things like that?
sure. Yeah, yeah. And that's why we also do like role play. Role
Mm,
playing, it sounds so silly and like people feel so stupid doing it, right? It's
yeah.
like ring ring. But it is I would much rather like mess up a script, or, you know, come up with an objection that I don't know have an answer for, and get the feedback from the group. And I'd much rather practice on you than I would on, you know, a $500,000 lead that's actively looking. You know what I mean? Like, cut
Right.
your teeth on the people that are also in the trenches with you, that are trying to figure this stuff out,
Mhm.
that know more than you, people that are more experienced, that have had these conversations, and role play. Like, that's a big piece. So if you don't, even if you're on your own, you can call another agent in your office and just say, hey,
Mhm.
do you want to role play twice a week or 3 times a week, you know, for 15 minutes, you know, come up with different scenarios. So we have different topics. This morning I hosted role play, and our topic was, what do you do if your buyer is already through all the contingencies, and you're already under contract, you're through all your contingencies, and they want out of the contract before closing? Like, how do you handle that? I've had that happen.
Oh, I'm
So
sure.
how do we have that conversation? So role play is a big one too.
You know, that is great, and I was taught that many years ago, and you know, sometimes you forget, but it is when you do that, you get sort of, I used to call it the ugly air out. You get all the uhs and the ahs and the, you
Yeah.
know, stumbling over, and even if you don't have the specific answer that maybe you're, you know, to the question that or objection that comes up, because you've role played, your confidence level is higher, right? And you come
Right.
across more relaxed and whatnot. And I also like to sort of in my mind consider, hey, what if I was an actor? You know, I'm acting in a movie
Yeah.
or something, and it's like, if I'm going to play this part of somebody, how would they respond in this situation? You know,
Right.
in
Right.
that role. So that's really awesome. That's super valuable. Do a lot of teams or brokerages out there, do they do role playing sessions like that, or is that something kind of unique to you?
It's the easiest thing not to do, because a
Yeah,
lot of people, if they do it too many times, they just don't feel like they're getting any value from it.
yeah.
So it really, I think it's important how you do it, and having specific topics. That's not just like, hey, let's make up a scenario. You know, let's, like, how do we role play introducing our lenders to our buyers? How do we role play introducing, you know, how do we role play trying to figure out, you know, how to narrow down their search because they want you to look at 50 houses, and you know
Mm,
that half of them aren't really in the criteria that they told you that they were looking in, and how do you have that conversation? And so there's so many things in
right.
real estate that, like, you don't know what you don't know as a new agent. So I think that's where, like, the experienced agents on a team in particular can kind of come in and say, okay, well, you know, I had this scenario come up last week, you know, let's role play how I handled it, or role play how
Mm,
I could have handled it better, or whatever. So I think keeping it interesting and fresh, so it's not the same topic of how do you just cold call a person and get an appointment? That's a
right.
great role play. That's important. How do you handle an internet lead? How do I get,
Right.
you know, all right, what's the location that you're looking in? You know, what's your timeline? You know, those things that you have to kind of gather information and set the appointment on. But also just like through the transaction, you know, I think
Mhm.
that kind of empowers our agents to feel a little more comfortable throughout the process. They're at
Yeah.
least exposed to it, even if 2 months later they get their first contract, you know, they've had
Right.
exposure to a
Right.
scenario.
but if you're in like a systematic process and you're doing weekly or something, different role play, then
Exactly.
you'll
So
come
we
back to
do
it.
ours 3 days a week in the morning after our huddles. We have
Okay.
like team huddles that kind of meet. And so there's, again, it's all about synergy and camaraderie, and we're all in this thing together, right? And so we're all
Right.
holding each other accountable. We've given permission for each other to hold ourselves accountable. And so we have a morning huddle that's 15 minutes, and then we have a morning role play that's 15 usually minutes.
Okay. So it's not, you're not taking a lot of time. You're just focused.
Mm,
Hey, we're going to do this. It's just part of your
yeah,
regular schedule, and boom.
exactly. And it's 3 days a week, Monday, or Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So
So what do you see in the market right now? What are you experiencing?
I think the biggest challenge right now is inventory, but that's been the challenge for I don't know, years, honestly.
Yeah. Right.
So we've had a little bit of an increase in inventory and a little slowdown just because the rates kind of peaked and whatnot. What we're seeing right now is that our showings are up, and so buyers are starting to kind of get back in.
Mm,
The people that said they're waiting at the end of the year, waiting for the new year, are jumping back into the market. So we're starting to see an uptick already. I think it's going to be a decent spring, uh, despite the rates. I mean, they've improved some
mhm.
over the last, you could speak into that,
Yeah.
over the last week or two. So
Yeah.
my focus with my clients is home ownership is still the fastest way to build wealth, right?
Yes.
So because it's a need that housing is a need that you need regardless. So you can either buy a house and pay yourself an equity, or you can pay a landlord. But it's still a need. Everyone needs somewhere to live. So my focus with my clients anyway is the rates are likely temporary. It's something that you're going to need to do anyway. You need to rents are up, mortgages are up. It kind of is what it is. So focus on affordability, and that's my big thing for them is just, okay, at 6.5%, what does that translate to a comfortable payment for you? That's
Mhm.
our price, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that we can't find you a house. It's just, we may have lost maybe $50,000 worth of buying power, but that
Mhm.
doesn't mean that's not going to buy you a really nice home. So is that 200,000? Is it 300, 400? Like focus on just like what you can control,
Mhm.
and in a payment that you feel comfortable with. Don't overstretch yourself. And then let's work within those parameters and problem solve it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You're absolutely right. We're seeing the same thing, and I'm getting a lot of feedback that the market is starting to, people are starting to re-engage. I think people went through a little bit of psychological whiplash. I mean,
Mhm.
I've been around. We did our first loans in 1998, so I've seen a lot. But when we were at 2.5% and 3%, we're in a world that just is not real. And
Right.
people come from
Right.
that, and then they're like, and it goes to 6 or 6.5 or 7. They're like, oh my gosh, actually seven
Oh my
percent is
God.
a pretty
Yeah.
good rate,
I'm never going
actually.
to be able to afford it.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, but
It's
they're
just like you said, it's not, we were living in just a false sense of reality for
yeah,
years. I mean,
yeah,
that's the hard part, right? So it
yeah,
takes a long time for someone to get over that we're not
yeah.
going to be there again.
Yeah. Well, I
So,
think I think you're seeing too that the rates have softened down, and you're going to see it as inflation numbers keep coming down. We'll see rates back down in the low fives, I think, by the end of the first quarter, middle
so
of the second quarter. And then to your
I
point,
hope so.
inventory's still up. Yeah, I mean, we're trending that way. And even if we didn't, to your point, that if buy what you can afford, and if rates do improve, you can always refinance and get a better payment.
Right.
And then you're
Right.
building
Exactly.
equity, and in 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years, you buy another house, right?
Right. Right.
Another
Exactly.
opportunity. Um, okay. So what do you do to stay productive for yourself?
For me, I'm on a team, so accountability is a big one. We always start our mornings with a huddle, like I said, and we just spend some time and kind of talk about what was a big win from yesterday and what's
Mhm.
most important today. And if we can kind of focus on that most important, because with real estate, you've always got fires to put out. You've got like 50 things that you're doing in that one day.
Yes.
But what's the most important thing? It's usually lead gen. That's a hint. But
Those two
usually it's
hours.
I need to spend time in my database actually talking to people.
Yeah.
I think it's really easy for us to get on this like treadmill, right? Transaction treadmill. And the thing that is going to keep that from happening as an agent is consistent lead generation, even through the chaos and the busy times. Because what you do today affects you 3 months from now. So So yeah, I mean, it's just kind of staying focused on the lead gen is the big piece of it. And that can be in different forms. We do client appreciation events. We had like at a really high level. So November and December, most of my lead gen was sending invites, calling people, inviting them to this thing. And it's all people that I knew, right? I didn't
Mhm.
spend a lot of time cold calling or going through my database. It was like I'm going through my past clients, my 300 plus people that I invited to this event, and just touching base with them,
Yeah.
and people that I haven't seen for or haven't sold a house to for 5 or 6 years still come to these events every year. It's like their
Yeah.
favorite thing. So even just kind of doing that as a high level in a way to that's lead generation, working your past clients. So
Mhm. Mhm. Well, let me ask you this. So as we wind down, because it's hard to believe we're already almost up to 30 minutes here.
mhm.
What didn't I ask you? What is there something else that you'd want to say that, with your experience and what you're seeing? Is there something I missed that we didn't talk about?
You know what? I took a minute to just kind of like write down I think the thing that has been most impactful for me as being a real estate agent, and I just want to share that.
Yeah.
And it kind of ties into a favorite quote of mine. Let me see if I can find it. Um so my it's so I'm a really big fan of The Miracle Morning. I don't know if
Mhm.
you've ever read that book.
Hal Elrod, right?
Yeah, Hal Elrod. And so for me, like my morning routine is a big piece. I attribute a lot of my success to really dialing that in. Sometimes sometimes I'm better at it and more consistent with it than other times, but
Sure.
it's one of the things that is just impacted me, I think, the most. And so with real estate, I think the biggest gift that it's given me is just the gift of personal development, and being able to kind of help others on that journey too. So my favorite quote was in that book, but it's from Marianne Williamson's book called Return to Love. And you've probably heard this quote, but it's: our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we're powerful beyond measure. It's our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? Your playing small does not serve the world.
Mm.
There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that others won't feel insecure about you. We are all meant to shine as children do. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give others people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. And I love that because it's
Mm.
like, real estate is it's just a catalyst, I think, to the bigger dream and the bigger purpose of our lives, right? It's a way for us to be able to do what we love. But at the same time kind of develop as entrepreneurs into the person that you really want to be, like the person that you can kind of look back and be proud on. And I think it's really easy to get caught up in insecurity and I'm not doing enough, and comparing yourself to the next person that
Yeah.
sells 50 houses or 70 houses or whatever. And I'm not this big successful person. Like when you first reached out to me, that's kind of, I was like, who am I? Who am I to be interviewed on a podcast, right?
Yeah.
But then you just kind of like redirect that focus and realize, no,
Yeah.
like everybody has something to give, and I think that development just internally, I think allows, the more you kind of put yourself out there, the more it allows other people to also put themselves out there. And so it's just a really fun game that I've kind of been been taking a front seat to, trying to take a little bit more of a front seat to this year, and saying yes to opportunities like this so that other people that are insecure and scared, and afraid to put themselves out there like I was when I was a new agent, it gives them kind of the permission to be like, go for it. So
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Yeah. You've got to push the boundaries of our fears are imagined. We live in
yeah.
a jail of, that's completely up with the walls of fear are paper thin, right?
Hmm.
But they seem so big until you
Yeah.
step on the other side and you're like, "Oh my gosh, what was I
Well, that
ever
wasn't so
afraid
bad.
of? That wasn't so bad."
Exactly.
Right? Right?
Exactly.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, that's fantastic, Mary. I love it. I love the quote. I don't think I've heard it before, but I do love the quote.
Yeah.
And it's definitely a quote that makes you think about
Hmm.
who you are, what you do. And I think entrepreneurship really allows someone to do what you're doing, to grow personally, because
Right.
there isn't really a safety net. Every day is kind of a faith journey, right? And,
Right.
for your business to be successful, you've got to grow yourself and become more than you were yesterday,
Yeah,
which is scary.
exactly.
It's scary, right? But it's also exciting at the same time.
It is. And that's one of the things that I love so much about this business, but really it's kind of any entrepreneurial
Yeah.
position, I think. Anything that you make something out of nothing
Yep.
and it's 100% of your actions translate into, your success. There's something really powerful about that versus because you got to change. You're not going to what gets you there isn't what got you here. So you're constantly on this journey of
Right.
change and evolvement, which is really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. No doubt. No doubt. Change is the only constant, right?
Hmm.
For sure. Well, Mary, this has been great. Tell everyone how they can get up with you, get in contact with you if they need an awesome real estate agent in the Richmond area.
Absolutely. So again, I'm a agent at Mission Realty. I have a business Facebook page, Mary.A.Soroka. On Facebook, Instagram is just MarySoroka.RVA Realtor. I also have a TikTok that's a lot of fun, which is the same. I don't dance on it, um, which is the same. Just Mary Soroka.RVA Realtor are the handles on those. But yeah, or just email Mary@missionrealty.com. Easy peasy.
Awesome. Well, we'll get that in the show notes and we'll get all your contact information and everything. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. We'll have to do this again.
Absolutely.